Hey, everybody. I'm Julie Barrett, founder of Conservative Ladies of America. And I wanted to talk to you today about some drama that's going on here in my new home state of Florida. So, you probably heard that Governor Ron DeSantis called the legislature into a special session. This was before the inauguration happened, that he asked them to do this special session because he wanted them to pass some policies that would allow Florida to cooperate with the Trump administration on their efforts to crack down on illegal immigration and to deport illegals who are in our country that shouldn't be, especially the criminals. And this was actually a great move on DeSantis's part to get Florida ready for the incoming administration and to be able to cooperate with them and make this happen as quickly as possible. I feel like the Trump administration will go to these states like Florida that are working to be able to cooperate with them first. So I feel like this puts us as the citizens into a good position. So obviously, Florida citizens were really supportive of this move for the special session of the legislature. Now, in Florida, our legislative session for 2025 doesn't actually start until March. So that's why they're being called into a special session. I know most other states are already in session for 2025, but here in Florida, in the odd years, we start in March. Well, what's happened is the establishment Republicans, the rhinos, yes, we have those here in conservative Florida. The rhinos have decided that they don't really want to do a special session. They don't think it's necessary. They don't think DeSantis has been very clear about what he wants. So they think they will just wait until the regular session in March. And then he demanded that they do a special session. Now, one thing I want to let you know, because I know a lot of our audience is in Washington state, and maybe you're thinking about moving to a red state. And one of the things that I tell people all the time is don't move to a red state and think you're going to just kick up your heels and everything's going to be great and you're going to live in freedom. Red states have their problems too, and they're just a different kind. So what I've found here in Florida, and I know this to be true in most other states that have a Republican majority, is that you have the conservative faction of the Republicans fighting the more establishment moderate rhino Republicans. And the problem is that most of these people who are in government are bought and paid for, and they are working to advance the agenda for the lobbyists, the special interest groups, the political action committees, whoever is financially supporting them. So you want to make sure that if you do move from a blue state into a red state, that you commit to being engaged or involved at some level, whether that's in your local community, in this at a state level. What we've been doing here in Florida is getting to know our neighbors, getting really involved with our community here right by our home, also in our church community. And what I've found is a lot of the people here, while they're registered Republicans and they vote Republican, they don't really know what's going on, and they don't really understand that the policies that are happening in places like Washington, where I came from, are already here. And it's not just Democrats that are working on them, it's those rhino Republicans that are helping to push in those leftist policies that you see in the blue states. Yesterday, Governor DeSantis put out a graphic on social media, and I want to show this to you, and I want to go over this with you so you can kind of get an idea of what is going on here in Florida. If you're in Florida and you haven't been hearing about this, you need to pay attention, because we really need to be speaking out and contacting our legislators and letting them know that we want them to do what DeSantis asked them to do. So I'm going to run down the proposals that DeSantis had for this session just real quick, and then we're going to get into the bait and switch tactic of the Florida Republicans. So he wanted law enforcement compliance. He wanted criminal penalties for illegal entry, state immigration enforcement officer, which would appoint a dedicated officer to oversee coordination with federal authorities and the unauthorized alien transport program. He wanted an unauthorized alien transport program, gang enforcement, education, and voting reform, such as repealing the in-state tuition funding for illegal immigrants, which I very much support that. Remittance and financial oversight, mandate identity verification for foreign remittance transfers, bail and flight risk presumptions, create a rebuttal presumption bill that illegal aliens are flight risks and deny bail. So that is the priorities that Governor DeSantis put out to the legislature, and they came in with their bill, Senate Bill 2B, yesterday. They're calling this the Trump immigration bill, which is funny because the guys that are pushing this bill, one of them is my Senator Joe Gruters, who was the champion for the weed amendment that we had on our ballot in November. It was written by and sponsored by Big Weed. They put millions and millions of dollars, Soros type of people in that. And my Republican Senator Joe Gruters was supporting that bill. And it took a huge effort from the conservative Republicans and especially Governor DeSantis and his entire administration to make sure that that amendment did not pass. Now, here in Florida, there is legalization of medical marijuana. And from what I understand, if you want it, you can get it. It's not a big deal. And there is nobody in jail currently on marijuana possession charges in Florida. Okay, let's dig into what the Rhino establishment Republicans are proposing here in Florida. So their bill fails to put an enforceable duty on state and local law enforcement to fully cooperate on illegal immigration enforcement under the 287G program. This means that Florida localities will provide no meaningful assistance to federal efforts. Awesome. Their bill is unconstitutional. It unconstitutionally removes authority to enforce the law from the governor to a lower level cabinet agency, the Department of Agriculture, that does not oversee state law enforcement and whose stakeholders often oppose enforcement measures. By giving enforcement power to the agricultural arm of state government, it ensures that enforcement never actually happens. In short, it puts the fox in charge of the hen house. And from what I've been gathering, and I'm still trying to get the lay of the land here in Florida, but what I've been gathering is that there's a lot of money and lobbyists and PACs and all that stuff going on with these sort of rhino establishment Republicans in the state legislature and within the Department of Agriculture, and the Agriculture Secretary, Wilton Stimpson, who is a big proponent of this legislation because it would give him sole authority over this entire program. The bill also fails to address remittances and allows aliens working illegally in Florida to continue sending money back to other countries. The bill also fails to establish a state crime to enter the U.S. and then enter the state illegally, as called for by the governor's proposal. It doesn't require a person registering to vote to affirm under oath that he or she is a United States citizen and a legal resident of Florida, as is called for by the governor's proposal. It doesn't strengthen enforcement against gangs by expanding the definition of transnational criminal organization or increasing associated penalties, as called for by the governor's proposal. It doesn't prepare local entities to affirmatively assist deportation efforts by requiring state and local law enforcement agencies to ensure that at least 10% of their sworn law enforcement officers are available to perform or exercise the powers, privileges, and duties of an immigration officer, as called for by the governor's proposal. It also fails to enhance the crime of registering to vote as an illegal alien, as called for by the governor's proposal. So this guy, Wilton Simpson, is the agriculture commissioner, and he I believe, just got reelected, and he's got another 6 years, I believe. And so this bill would give him great authority. It would give him authority over this, but not the governor. Now, DeSantis sent out a tweet today. Being new to Florida, I don't have all of the history about previous sessions and how different people voted, but the governor tweeted out today that this Wilton Simpson ag commissioner voted to give illegal aliens driver's licenses. He voted to give illegal aliens in-state tuition. So we have someone in this position who seems to be favorable of illegal aliens. And there's a huge conflict of interest going on here. There's a very interesting power struggle going on, and it's definitely not in the best interest of the citizens of the state of Florida or America at large. We need to follow through on the mandate that President Trump campaigned on, and we need to deport these illegals. So wanted to share with you what is going on here in free Florida. Lots of drama right now. And hopefully, there will be enough public pressure against these rhinos to get them to change course and do the agenda that Governor DeSantis has asked them to do. So I will keep you posted on that, but wanted to give you a little something different today. I know we've been talking a lot about what's going on in Washington, but wanted to give you a look at the other side of life in a free state of Florida. We have our own drama as well. So there you go. Thanks for watching, and would love to hear your comments on this. And what do you think about the immigration stuff that's going on around the country? Trump's policies. Where do you see this going? Do you like what you're seeing so far? Do you have concerns? I'd love to hear from you. So drop some comments down below, and I look forward to chatting with you again next time.